what's up, everybody? Welcome to No Suits Allowed. I'm Martin Montana, partner with Revolt Recruiting. Joining me is Eric Grinberg, CEO of Revolt Financial. Super excited to have you here with us. Let's start off and talk about what we're doing. Okay, so what is this podcast? It's quite simple. We want to showcase people who've done something their own way. They didn't just follow the norm. Most likely they took some pretty big risks to get to where they're at and get the rewards. And why are we doing it? Pretty simple. I mean, this industry, if you think about financial services as a broad bucket, it's full of what we would call legacy voices, right? So a lot of the corporate pitches, very safe, very conservative, safe interviews. And what we're doing is the complete opposite. Okay. So who's this for? You might be a financial advisor. You might be an aggregator, a CEO, an entrepreneur. You could be any of the above, but if you want to learn and hear real stories, real conversations, how did people do something? Why did they do it? And how did they get to a great place? Then this podcast is for you. Thanks for joining us. Let's kick it off right now. All right. So some people know this, some people don't. You played professional golf, right? No asterisk, not the way I do it. And then you leave that to go into finance. How in the world did that happen?
Yeah, I think for me, you have to go back a little bit, right? So this industry is really, really special. It's this place where it doesn't matter what your education level is. Just so everybody knows, I didn't finish high school. I'm a GED specialist, a good enough degree, which may describe part of my management style, and we'll get into that maybe a little bit later. Done is better than perfect, right?
Yeah.
But, for me, it wasn't something I grew up and said, hey, I wanted to be a financial advisor. I don't think a lot of people do, or especially the way I got out of the insurance business, right? So I went and I played professional golf for 5 years. And to say that it was successful would probably be the overstatement of the century. I probably should have quit 2 years earlier, but I had a dream, right? And I think that kind of plays into finance, right? We talk about how I didn't intend to get in this career, and I don't think a lot of people do, but I had a dream of making a lot of money. And so this industry doesn't require a college degree. It doesn't require anything other than creating relationships, right? And on the golf course, you learn how to create a relationship in 4 hours. And that's something I still hold on to this day, is the ability to learn about people, constant curiosity, continuing to build those relationships and make those last a lifetime. So for me, I ended up leaving professional golf in Scottsdale, Arizona, and my parents had relocated to Georgia, and I didn't know what else to do besides get near mom. Like, that was plan B, was like, okay, I'll get near mom and figure it out, right? And so I moved to Savannah, Georgia, and was managing an Edwin Watts golf shop. And my first job in this industry, I was dragged out kicking and screaming of a $36,000 a year salary. I had left that thing kicking and screaming, and started selling final expense and Medicare door to door in Southeast Georgia, and really, really had a lot of fun. I think my first week I made almost $100,000 selling final expense and Medicare door to door. Yeah. And so simplified issue products into trailer parks and people on fixed incomes, and continued to use those skills I learned in golf. And from there, kind of, we'll get into it, but ended up running a firm at 27, 28, left, started my own firm with some partners, and have really enjoyed the fruits of my labor since. But yeah, for me, it was a last resort that gave me the ability to control my own destiny, and it's turned into something really, really special, where I think we have an opportunity to really fix what's in the industry. And I think we have a lot of parallels in that way, right? Like, you left a really successful career. I left a failed one, but you still left and decided to get into entertainment and stand-up comedy. So tell me a little bit about that, because I think we both we did our dream jobs in different order. You did your dream job second. I did my dream job first, and now we're here in the same spot.
Yeah, it's wild, right? So for me, I mean, if you say like, why did I leave? And we can go back to the first part later, but I mean, look, I was in a really good spot, and I agree with you. I didn't plan on getting into finance. I moved up to Boston with a couple of roommates after college, and I wasn't ready to try to do anything with entertainment at that time. I owed a lot of money back for going to school, and I was like, I need to make money. I got to do something. And so I took an all commission job with American Express, which became Ameriprise. And that thing went crazy in a good way. But then I had this thing in my head that had been there since I was like a kid, and definitely through high school, college, that I really wanted to do entertainment. So at 28 years old, man, I just said, it's now or never, right? You're either going to age out of even trying. And I don't want to be one of these, like, I wish I did people. So I quit that great setup I had and spent 15 years, mostly between New York and LA, in it. And similar to you, like, I would say I got a peak in there somewhere, maybe a 4 or 5 years of like amazing run, like unforgettable run. And then it kind of went back the other way. And then I was like, I probably should have pulled the plug even a couple of years earlier too. I would agree with that. But hey, man, I got to live that dream for a long time, and super thankful for that.
Crazy. I think one of the cool things about this, and I'll just point this out real quick, is my lack of education or formal education, and that you may have one of the fancier educations. UVA is no joke of a school, right? Like that. I think that's what I love about this industry maybe the most.
Yeah, man, 100%. So when you broke out, because I want to talk about that. I think it's really worth talking about is, I'll go back even a little to your call it build up days, but let's almost fast forward to when you broke out on your own.
Yeah, we did a little over 70 million in advisor production moves. So that's GDC plus commissions from commissionable products that don't go through the grid, plus planning fees, kind of the whole revenue stream, right? So just a little bit over 70 million. And that was just me, right? So it's just me doing it on my own. I didn't really think it would turn into anything like this. I'm really glad it did, and we'll kind of get into what it's turned into. But it was a fun process, man. I think I really got excited about it. It was something that, like, for the first time, I wasn't recruiting to a firm. I wasn't recruiting to a specific place. I was truly felt like I was helping advisors for the first time in my life, right? Like, you always kind of help them. You put them in a slightly better position to succeed, but you were selling something. By no means are we selling anything anymore. What we're doing, unlike a lot of the third-party recruiting firms out there, we don't take everybody to Raymond James, like the guys who are barred in the industry up in New Jersey. Like, we do it our own way, and we do it the right way. And I think that's what's really great for us. I saw one of these big firms just put out something at the end of last year that they moved like 103 million, and this is a 50-person firm, so they beat us by 30%. Against just me.
Well, I was going to say that. I was going to say that 70 million is more than a lot of the firms.
I think we probably ended up in top 3, or I ended up in top 3 firms as an individual. But I would say it's funny, right? Like, those guys, they just kind of push people to specific places. But like, to this point, this firm like moved 103 million. They moved, I think it said like 75 unique advisors, and they only worked with 8 firms. Right. Which means they put 90% of it at one firm, and then had 7 to 10 people that got turned down. Right. And they took somewhere else. So you see a lot of that in this industry: contract chasing, money chasing. And I think that's still wrong. And I think it gives third-party recruiters a bad name. Like, what we do here is so different, so moral, so right. And the fact that, like, we don't care where the fuck you go, as long as it's what's best for your business. And if we can solve that problem in your business to make it better, like, it's super, super exciting. And so, like, last year gave me was really inspiring from just like a personal standpoint, that I think it like trickled into the production, and like seeing some of the old guard who, like, and I'll get into some of the mentors I had last year and the connections that really, really helped me. Like, those guys saw what we were doing and saw what I was doing, and the ability that we really, really did right by the advisors, and like really helped them through the process every step of the way. We just didn't like submit a name to a company and say, good fucking luck. Like, we were really, really, really involved, and they decided to send stuff to us because they really, really liked the way we were going about it.
Yeah. No, I mean, when did you know, and no might not even be the right word, right? Or when did you feel and decide it's time for me to break out?
Yeah, I think I probably decided a couple years prior, leaving Mass Mutual and starting a firm at Cetera with a couple of guys, and really, really decided that independence was what I favored. I favored the advisor choice. One of the mottos we have at Revolt is your business, your rules, right? And for me, that's always kind of been the way I thought once I found out enough about the industry to really have an opinion. And for me, like the ability to help advisors was a little bit better there. So you see, like I've kind of like advisors in this way. Like you'll see advisors go wirehouse, and then they go independent broker dealer, and then they go RIA, and they're finally there, and then they own their own RIA. Like I kind of did the same thing. I did this like inch along. Okay, I'm at a kind of a captive mass mutual firm. Okay, that's great. Now I'm have an OSJ at Cetera. Okay, that's great. Now I'm going to go out all the way, and now I'm all the way broke out, and I don't like I'll go into the story, but like I don't think I could have done it any earlier. I really needed some of the contacts and some of the skills I learned while I was at Cetera, or at the OSJ at Cetera. But at the same time, I always felt it. I think I don't necessarily, Revolt is the name of our company for a reason, because I really feel like we're a movement that's like rebelling against what's standard in industry, which is, oh, you don't own your book, you don't have autonomy, you don't have choice, you don't have ultimate income, you don't have the ability to sell it at the end. And and Revolt is really kind of my story, right? And summed up in a word. And so I was always meant to be here. It just took me a while to get there. And like, that's okay. And I think that's what I would tell advisors. Like, it's okay. Eventually we'll get you there, right? Take it step by step.
Well, for many reasons, I agree and identify with that. Like it's, like it's the Monday morning quarterback or the hindsight thing. Like, look, you got one life. Okay. So no one can predict everything and control everything. And in time and space, you're generally trying to do the best you can, but there's no fault. And to your point, oh, I worked at this firm and it went pretty good. And then, I wanted to change or whatever. I mean, it's like, I know sometimes as an advisor or even, a corporate person or whatever, we think, man, the optics of this, if I move or, right. Like, oh, I don't know, maybe it's too soon. And it's like, that's only because in the movie of our lives, we're the most important and we're the star. But in the grand world, no one cares. No one cares. You make a move, an impactful move, and you go create something and do something 5 years later, who cares? But what's funny is, and this, and I know this, I've experienced this in my life. In the moment, the haters or the doubters, it's like that negative thing. They're so quick to, oh, I don't know, man, what are you doing? Or, oh, I don't know about that. Right. Like, and, as that person, you just gotta, okay, cool. Yep. Like keep it to the vest. Right. And move it on. And then when you get something going, hey man, that's great. Congratulations. Like, yeah, but you're the same person who didn't really support and kind of was like talking against me stepping out on the ledge there. So it's very interesting that you have to have a certain amount of, like fortitude or self-belief, I think, to go after these kind of things, because the outside world will prefer safety, will prefer, right, non-risk. And like, that's just it's the nature of the beast. Like our brains are designed to prevent us from risk.
Well, tell me about that. I mean, that's perfect segue into like your life, right? Like you're 25 running a branch or a complex in San Diego. And how many people told you when you were getting ready to leave, don't go. It's going to be the biggest mistake you made.
Yeah. A lot. Well, it was actually mass confusion because I was promoted. I was promoted to be a manager in like a year. I had no idea what I was doing, other than I could get clients to hire me to do a financial plan, and then I would have to scramble and be like, please help me figure this out, because I'm very new. And then obviously I could market, I could get in front of people, and I did have confidence that like if you hired me, I wasn't going to bullshit you. Like I'm going to go get the best answers. So that, I guess, was what made me have confidence, is I was like, hey man, I may not know it all, but I'll go figure it out. And I'd rather have me at this age as my advisor than some of these other people I'm seeing. So that got me to a manager, and then I'm 2.5 years in the business and I'm running that office, which was wild. But I had mentors around me, right? Like Jason McCool and Jamie Frazone and like all these people that came ahead of me in that system, who were great mentors and who just, kept my eye on the prize of like, hey man, just focus on these things. Like, just don't even worry about anything else. And then when I left, I honestly, like, I just lied to everybody. I was like, I'm burned out. I want to go back to the East Coast. I don't know what I'm going to do. And that was complete lies, because the plan was, I'm going to move back. I'll probably keep some jobs, which I did, but it's only to then, that was my version of being a waiter, because of that resume, I could get any job really. That was like, I guess a lot of people would want. I just didn't want it, but I used it and then built up and then got to New York, and then the voiceover hit and all these other things hit. And then I was like full-time about 10 years in that space.
Well, I think it's interesting, right? You say you lied, but there's probably a reason, right? Like, were you worried that people would try, like legacy managers, legacy voices at Ameriprise would try and hold you back or tell you that what you were doing was crazy and they talk you out of it?
Yeah. I mean, I knew there would be, no one would really probably understand, right? For all the reasons, like, why would you give that up? You're in the driver's seat, you're set for life. And I just didn't want to hear it because I was focused on my goal. And I ended up achieving my goal, and then obviously factors out of my control kind of put it a little sideways, but hey man, no regrets really. Like I'm really glad I did it. Like the kinds of things I got to do are unbelievable, So, but yes, it was a time where, of course I told like my parents at the time and just had to hear there be like, what in the world are you doing?
I mean, I had the same thing. I told my dad, super conservative guy, right? Like had to join the military to be able to afford college, and then got a government job, and then slowly worked his way out. When I told him I was going to go into a commission only thing, even leaving 36 grand behind, he thought I was psychotic. He's like, "What are you thinking?"
Okay, so real talk. One of the biggest fights I ever had with my dad was when I was a new comedian guy, and I think I was actually in Florida coming to do a show, and he come to see me and he was like, how much they paying you for this? Right. And I was like,
not enough.
I was like, nothing, like I get a hotel and like $600 or something. It's like
a couple beers at the bar.
He's like, what? He goes, you gave that up for this? I was like, and we had this whole thing, and that was like probably the only like big fight we've probably ever had. But to your point, and I don't blame him, right? Our parents might be similar, right? My mom recently passed, but immigrants to this country, no education beyond high school, like the world that they had to figure out and grow up in. Of course, they want me to avoid reset and risk and all that, because like they're probably exhausted, right? They spent a lifetime to give us a chance to grow up in this country and have all these nice things that we have the ability to go work for. So, yeah, man, that was an interesting time for sure. Yeah. But let me ask you, okay, so the golf thing, which is, I mean, look, I know you say like it was thing. That's like the best.
That's the best description ever. The golf thing. That's like, I think what my mom calls it.
Well, that's what people tell me. I used to do skits, right? So
that and her personal, she calls it she calls my tax bills my buyout.
Yeah.
Every time they had to write a check for my tax bills because I spent all the money I had, made before the end of the year. I think she called that the buyout of her life.
So, but I want to go back to it only for this reason, right? So you obviously like, I mean, you listen, you were good enough to play a level of professional golf. So that puts you obviously above a lot of people. But what kind of lessons did you have then growing up from childhood or from those early days of golf that prepared you or that put you in that mindset to go into this finance career and do all these things and then break out? Because obviously like you had a certain mentality already and a certain skill set. It just so happened you went a certain way and then you veered another way. But what do you think that was? Like, what do you think gave you that confidence to come in and literally sell whatever it was, 100K of final expense or whatever the thing is? Like, what were the building blocks is my question.
Yeah, I think it goes back to relationships, right? It's like, golf isn't an honor sport, right? It's like do the right thing every single time, even when nobody's watching, right? And that's, I think, you see that at Revolt every day. Like we do the right thing even when nobody's watching. We do the right thing for the advisor, no questions asked. I think one of the things we always say, or at least I always say when I talk to a new firm is like, hey, like you're not my client. Just so we're all on the same page. The advisor is my client. And I have really, really good friends who run firms who I do millions of dollars of business with every year. And there's times it gets pretty testy because either I know the comp inside and out and they feel like I'm taking advantage of them because of my knowledge or whatever it is. And we get to negotiations, and I like to think of myself as a pretty tough negotiator. And like in this industry, the advisor has 99.9999% of the leverage. And even that might be a point light. right? The advisor has all the leverage. And so our ability to make sure that they get the best deal for them, knowing the comp inside out, those times get testy. And like, you just have to have guys who understand that, like, when we say it, we mean it. The advisor is 100% of the time our client, and we're going to live or die by them. And I think that's a big piece, the honor piece of it. I think the other thing is like, just the isolation of work ethic, right? Like in golf, you're on your own, right? And then in the insurance business, the wealth management business, like you have mentors, you have people that can help you, you have managers, but in the end, it's like nobody's giving you business. Like go fucking get it. And like, I think that's the one thing that all athletes have is like, hey, you got to go get it every fucking day. And like that for me, those two things along with, I think I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder after a golf career, right? I left without a high school diploma, and my parents, I came from an upper middle class kind of area where, like, I was literally convinced that if I didn't go to college, my peak was making $60,000 managing a McDonald's. Like I was so brainwashed that I thought that was it. So even looking back, I'm starting to compare myself to people who did go to college or did do this or did do that. And, I'm 23 and they're making 80 grand and I just, had to borrow 50 grand to pay taxes, like whatever it was. Right. And like, I had a chip on my shoulder and I probably still have some of it today. Right. Where like, you got to go earn it. I'm mad at how things turned out, but I can go fix it. And like, there's a little bit of that in me still where like, and I think you see that sometimes when we're out, like I'm fucking mad. Like I want to go fucking get it. And I get mad when other people don't want to, because I feel like they're holding us back. Right. So we have a really elite team here of really high performers and high earners who want to go kill it. And so, I think, for me, the chip on my shoulder, the relationships, and just the lack of understanding of the business early on, like really got me to where I'm at. Right. And like, I think the other thing athletes have is this skill to like blindly trust and buy into something, even when they don't know what's going to happen. Right. Like when I'm making a swing change in golf, like you don't know the result. Do you like have a good enough understanding of the golf swing or good enough understanding of what's going on to like make an informed decision, but like you don't know how it's going to turn out. You look at Tiger, right? He had his career years in 00 and 01, right? And then he decided to rebuild his golf swing, and he had a really kind of tough 02, 03, 04, like by his standards, right? He didn't know how it was going to go, and eventually it clicked, right? And so, but he made it in blind faith, and he stuck to it for 3 years through the ups and the downs, and made it, right? And so I think blind faith, naivete, some other things, chip on my shoulder, it's the classics, right? Like I'm no different than anybody else. I just have an ability to go channel it. And like I think the other great thing, Martin, is like I loved golf and I love this. I love what we do every day. Like I don't know if there's a place that's more fun than getting to help advisors open their eyes, see what else is out there. And it's also really fucking fun. Like last year I got to hand somebody I got to help them get a $50 million transition check. Like that's pretty fucking cool. Like seeing a team get $50 million, just like that's pretty fucking cool. So, some of those things, it's fun. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. No, it really does. I mean, those are the blocks that you had that like, again, like that's in what, in corporate jargon, it's transferable skills, right? But that's really what it is. It's like I think with those kind of things, like, you could pretty much kind of do anything entrepreneurial, to be honest. But you found that you had a passion for finance because of your early experience, even though you knew it wasn't the thing, but you were like, there's plenty of opportunity here in this business in general. So I love it.
And you had some really big, successes in entertainment, and then you still decided to come back. So why the fuck did you do that?
For many reasons. So wife and I lived in LA for a total of like 7 years after New York City for like 4. And there goes like the peak of the chart. And then comes the down, and the down was really just that, the Screen Actors Guild, it's a union that in theory sets the rates and the renewals when you do projects, when you do work, right? Commercials, TV, whatever. There's no rule that says like, hey, everybody has to go through them, but it's kind of like the unknown rule, or it was. And then somewhere in like between 2012 to 2018, I mean, they really just lost their foothold on commercials. And for people that don't know, when that happens, it becomes the Wild West. And now if 80, like literally nowadays, 80, 90% of the stuff on TV is non-union. So they just pay an actor whatever they decide. And guess what? It's not going to be a high number. So things went from being, look, really hard to book, but if you did it, 6-figure jobs, right? Like you're like, okay, good. Now that's it's a baseline. To that same job, $2,000 buyout, take it or leave it. And I'm talking major brands. Name every Fortune 100 company that advertises. Those people going, yeah, no, well, we'll just pay the person $2,000. So combined with getting married, having a kid, right? My daughter just turned 5. To me, it was like, as an entrepreneur, I like to think I was an entrepreneur in that business because I was so obsessed with making money and building things. But it was like running uphill, like so impossible. And I didn't mind it for a while, but when you take away the rates and you crush those, and I was doing some cool stuff in Vegas at that time, but I was like, I just wasn't seeing it as a long-term play. And as hard as it was, more because of the ego, to be fair, I was like, hey man, I've done all these things that a lot of my peers hadn't done, to be honest. Like I've done some things that are pretty cool, man. And it takes a lot of skill to do it. Nobody cares. And when the rates went away, that was the beginning of the end for me, because if I can't control it or move the needle or influence it, like you can't work your way into magically just making $500,000 doing commercials. You know what I mean? So that was it for me. When my bread and butter got pulled away, I was like, I told my wife, I remember we're in our place in Redondo, and I said, I think I'm done. She was like floored. Like, what are you talking about? I was like, I think I'm done. And I think if I was going to do anything else, it would certainly be to go back to finance. And then that was when the decision was made. Now that took leaving LA, getting reestablished here in Tampa, a whole other chapter of like, what I want to do in this business. Right. We've talked about this. Like, this was a daunting thing. Like, I've been gone, man. I mean, I know I did some stuff. I know I still have it there, but like, I've been gone. So I found my way, as you know, in the experience recruiting side. And I had my version of corporate to less corporate to here we are now. And that, again, was probably the right way to do it, because I saw it in a structure. And then I was like, oh, okay, I get it. And then, of course, they cut my comp twice in 2 years. And I'm like, this is insane. And then I go to kind of a middle ground, but it's good. It's just not quite the right thing. And then that's how you and I link up, and here we are. So, and my chapter isn't done, of course, but like, it was just the right time for my family. And you know, what's funny. And I will tell you this, I know we were joking around this morning about like kids, but when you have a kid, now that I have one, it literally is not about you. I can honestly say that. So as hard as the decision was, once my daughter, I was like, dude, this movie isn't about me anymore. So like, stop being so concerned about your next gig and whatever bullshit thing. Like, what I asked myself, what do you want to happen in the next 10 to 20 years? And then my mind went like, I need to build something. I need some kind of level of like something that's really next level. Like, it's no more of this in between stuff. And then it actually became not a hard decision to be like, okay, so the goal is for the family. The goal is for her. The goal is to provide. We all want to do better than our parents did. That idea, right? My parents did a phenomenal job. It gave me a ton of opportunities, but I had to do a lot on my own. I paid for college myself and did all that. I'd love to pay for her. Yeah. So it's like, let me give the next level of support. And then that is what got me to be all in on coming back. And then it was just finding, what is the fit? What's the setup? What's the shape of this thing? But I've been so excited to be back and be here with you, and like, just getting all this going, man. It's been a blast.
So why Revolt, right? I think that's a question everybody, like, why Revolt, not one of the other 3 that I've hated on today?
Yeah. I mean, listen, like, when you and I began our conversations a year ago or more, what I liked was that you were building something from the ground up, which I'm always a fan of. I really am. I liked your vision. I liked the entrepreneur side that you had of like, hey man, I'm going to create something pretty big here. And I like getting in on the ground floor of things like that. So that's what attracted me. And obviously you had proven yourself, like that goes without saying. Like, so that to me was a really good next step of this recruiting journey, was like, well, let's go do it on the outside. And I will agree with something you said earlier, man. I love the idea of like, you're an experienced person and I don't have to call you saying, please join XYZ firm, because that's all I have. I can actually not, I cannot sell anything. I can go, just tell me like, what do you like? What do you not like? What problem are we trying to fix? Hey man, we can take you anywhere you want, but let's streamline all that nonsense and let's get you the top 2, 3 options and let's go down the line. And by the way, if you don't even do anything, that's okay too. I know, by the way, it doesn't cost you anything, and that's okay too. Like they'll take care of us if and when we do something, not a problem. So for all those reasons, I was in, and I know we're up against time, but let me ask you this last one before we get out of here. So before you jumped on your own, because we heard the story of how good it was so quickly, which is amazing, and a credit to all the work you had been doing. But what was your biggest fear at the time? Like, what were you worried about before you did it?
It's a great question. I think I was worried about, I think I had you see a lot of like these old ass white guys just fumbling around who on LinkedIn doing whatever they're doing. And they come across as so knowledgeable. And I think in the back of my head, I like always wondered, like, this is an athlete thing. It's like, you always have this like little bit of self-esteem, self-doubt in the back. You're like, am I good enough? Am I going to be able to make money doing this? Like, are these guys that much better than me? And like, for me, I think that was the biggest piece. And then you kind of have to have this like shake it off moment. Like, you're like, fuck it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it a whirl. I'm going to see how it goes. And like, you just start putting one foot in front of the other. Right. And I think that's how I still live today. Is like, we just do one thing and we just do another thing and we do another thing. And then you kind of get into the flow, you get into the moment, you get into deals, and you kind of forget about all the baggage that's kind of sitting in the back of your brain, all the self-doubt, right? Like, same thing with golf. You're really nervous getting on the first tee, right? Like that every tournament, every round, really nervous getting on the first tee. Then you get to about hole 2 and you're like, it's just another round of golf, right? And you have the skills, you know how to ride a bike, you know how to swing a golf club. And it's the same thing here, right? And like, what I found out is like, I'm really good, and that people resonate with the fact that I really, really care and I really, really want to help them, and I'm not selling them. And I know a lot of people say that in this industry, but like, I think if I talk to a lot of advisors who have either worked with other third-party recruiting firms or been with other, or were even working with third-party recruiting firms while I was working with them. And they're like, you've never asked me to like, stop working with this firm. You've never told me that they're this or that. You've just kind of continued to go about your business and go about it the right way. And he goes, and they're like, this other group is submitting me to all these places I don't want to be submitted to. They're trying to push me to Raymond James. They're trying to do this or that. And, for us, I think we just kind of get to stand on that moral high ground and not in a cocky way, but in a way of like, we just never will be that firm, right? And we talk about that all the time. We get an email from a broker dealer saying, hey, we're moving your comp from 12% to 16% for the next quarter. And like, all of us are like, don't care. Like, does not affect anything we're doing today, right? We go about, because we have a process. Like, I think that's an athlete thing too. We're process oriented. We're going to do it the same way every time. There's obviously nuances, but we're going to go through our process. We're going to do it right. And where the chips fall, they fall, right? And for us, I think that's the key. So
no, I love that. And listen, man, I'm excited to get this podcast going. For all you guys watching for the first time, No Suits Allowed. Really appreciate you joining us. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And we've got some really great guests coming up. And what you're hopefully going to see, the through line of this is, it's not about corporate pitches. It's not like that safe stuff. Like, we talk the way we talk. It's going to be a real conversation and hopefully giving you a lot of insight into how people did things. How did these successful people go build these things? What was their mindset? What were the pitfalls? What would they do differently? So that's going to be the through line. And as you can see from me and from Eric, we're really excited about it. This is just the beginning. Wanted to let all of you get to know us. And in the next coming weeks, we're going to have a bunch of great guests. So stay tuned for that. Always good to see you, E. I'm sure we've got a call later today, but I'll catch up with you, brother.
And as in the words of Happy Gilmore, we've only just begun.
That's it.
All right, boys.
All right, man. See y'all.